So I've been digging through all the Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3 interviews and previews since Summer Game Fest because one claim keeps getting repeated by the community: awoken skills have timers. And after checking all the available interviews and previews, I actually couldn't find any direct quote from a Bandai Namco executive or anyone confirming that awoken skills have a timer. However, there is one interesting thing that the developers did confirm about the gameplay. Hello everyone, it's me again, Steve Dojo here, back some more Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3, and this time on Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3, I wanted to talk about awoken skills, because everyone has this big fear that awoken skills aren't going to be permanent anymore, even though for the most part in most Dragon Ball games, all transformations usually last forever, but people have this really big fear when it comes to how it will work in Xenoverse 3, mostly because custom characters have so many transformations, and I think something to do with the Soul Switch system having a timer, but this interview actually does tell you what the new idea that they want for Xenoverse 3 is about, and it might actually involve limited transformations because they actually want to reduce the amount of permanent buffs and spam in Xenoverse 3. Producer Masayuki Hirano explained that Xenoverse 3 is being designed to avoid players settling into one overpowered playstyle and that the team wants players to experiment with different approaches and abilities. Hirano said Xenoverse 3 is moving away from Xenoverse 2's style of insanely spam-heavy builds and playstyle, obviously wanting the game to be, free of abuse when it comes to spam-heavy playstyles, and obviously, he doesn't want people to optimize parallel quests into key blast shooting galleries too, apparently, and PvP matches, he doesn't want them to just turn into, I've put everything on my build that makes me invincible, so I win. Thank the Lord that Hirano mentioned these, by the way, because while I don't mind PQs being done faster, since RNG can make a 10-minute parallel quest not drop a single damn thing for you, and you could do them multiple times, meaning you could spend nearly an hour or more just not getting the reward of a mission that you are successfully beating every time, which is ridiculous. This also does mean that Xenoverse devs actually do sometimes go on YouTube, by the way, and other social media, and see things like the absurdly mindless XY cancels and key cancels and perfect guard mashing, while using everything that also gives you as many iframes as possible, or as many get out of jail free cards as possible, like Limit Burst, which has not made a reappearance in Xenoverse 3, by the way, so far. And all the one-shot combos and infinite grab exploits and all the other weird things that can be used in an entire match are zero drawbacks, so long as you just choose to equip them, and that's it. It requires no player skill. It's just, hey, did you equip these things, yes or no? So it makes me wonder, how many of my videos did they watch to get to this conclusion, by the way, because I'm one of the only people who constantly uploads, hey, look at this horrible thing you had to fight in Xenoverse 2 and I somehow beat it. Since these beliefs and changes they want to implement extend all the way to the transformations, it does make it sound like they wanted to do away with permanent forms, but I want to emphasize that in Xenoverse 1, transformations were already on a timer, and they changed it in Xenoverse 2, with the exception of a few forms, to be infinite. I do also want to raise the idea of it because you guys do need to understand that Xenoverse 2 has been out for much longer than Xenoverse 1. They might be completely tired of infinite transformations because Xenoverse 2 has been out for ages. Even the amount of time we've had Ultra Instinct for is longer than the amount of time that Xenoverse 1 existed without Xenoverse 2. And Ultra Instinct is also a permanent transformation, which they might personally not agree with. They might think Ultra Instinct should be used for only 40 seconds at the very end of a super hard mission, so that way you can go completely bonkers. Or maybe you save Beast for the final moments. Maybe Beast only also lasts 40 seconds. Again, I'm not saying that these systems work the exact same way Soul Change does with a timer, but it's very interesting to note, and obviously remember that, again, we've had infinite transformations in the Xenoverse series for longer than timed transformations now, and Bandai Namco, or at least Hirano, might think that we should tone it down a bit, so we're going to go back to having limited forms. Because reminder, when Xenoverse 1 came out, other Dragon Ball games still had infinite transformations, and Xenoverse 1 chose to break the mod by going, no, let's have them be on a timer. In Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1, all 3 forms of Kaioken and all 4 forms of Super Saiyan, all of the ultimate forms at least, 5 if you include Super Saiyan 3, by the way, but that's exclusive only to Goku, were on timers, but in different measures. With Kaioken, it drained your stamina, but gave you a basic attack buff, and both would scale with the intensity of the level of Kaioken you were on, but they also gave you a 50% stamina cost reduction when you reached Kaioken times 3, which would then become a no stamina cost for all stamina related moves so long as you're in Kaioken times 20. Now, while there were very OP exploits to make the form last forever, it still had the built-in timer, and that timer being your stamina bar, something that's obviously very important to you in Dragon Ball Xenoverse. They obviously wanted it to be a massive, massive drawback for the massive benefit you got from it, but they overlooked that a few moves in Super Souls and other weird combinations could make it as broken as it was. And guess what? Instead of just removing it from the game, they just kind of left it in. They just didn't really know what to do. It kind of shows a lot in Xenoverse 2 as well, that when something really game-breaking is in Xenoverse 2, for the most part, they don't even remove it because I guess they just don't want to, or they don't know how to fix it. Super Saiyan, on the other hand, though, it drained your ki in exchange for buffs to your damage types depending on which form you were in. And these also scaled to what stage of Super Saiyan you're in too, by the way. But you at least got infinite ki for the entire duration of the transformation, meaning you could endlessly spam any super attack or any ultimate attack before the form ran out. Now, obviously, the solution to Super Saiyan's timer in Xenoverse 1 was to just equip a ki charge. Obviously, you would just put on maximum charge and charge your ki to maintain the form. But that doesn't change the fact that it did have a timer. And despite how egregious all of that was, in Xenoverse 2, they actually made all the launch day Super Saiyan forms, including the new Super Saiyan 3, by the way, up to an infinite timer. But they did remove the infinite ki usage because they wanted to obviously reduce the spam, just like how they nipped the infinite Kaioken times 20 exploit in the bud by changing a unique aspect of a few different moves surrounding it in the next game. Even though they could have just nerfed it in Xenoverse 1, they didn't. They nerfed the moves that buffed Kaioken like that in Xenoverse 2 specifically so they could get rid of it. So again, just like Xenoverse 3 is obviously going to remove a lot of cheese that's in Xenoverse 2 currently, the same happened with Xenoverse 1 into Xenoverse 2. And one of the ways it looks like they're going to balance transformations is with the potential meter. Now, I'm going to assume that the potential meter is what we see at the bottom with Trunks with the soul change, because there's no other meter on the screen that would indicate the potential meter that we hear about in the customization option. But I think the potential meter is something that you'll need to fill up. Now, remember, soul change replaces transformations, which means transformations would instead go down where that icon of Trunks is with the soul change, meaning that you would still need to fill that meter up, most likely to transform in the middle of a battle, right? I'd assume now to transform, you at least have to put in a little bit of, effort and backbone before you get to transform. It makes some sense. There are Dragon Ball fights where characters only transform after boxing and trading a few hits with each other, but at the same time, I think people will just miss the ability to just charge up and turn into any form they want to. Again, I'm not saying that this is actually final, because maybe if you pick an awoken skill, the potential meters just max off rip, and the thing that's going to change with transformations is that they maybe have a timer, or maybe their buffs will be kind of specific. I do want to remind you that in Xenoverse 1, things were balanced basically by a timer. Now, obviously, there was exploits and then actual game mechanics as well that could refill the timer so you could stay in the form for longer. And then in Xenoverse 2, instead of having infinite timers on everything, they instead just actually chose to give things debuffs. A good example is Super Saiyan 1 and 2, and even SSJ 3 for Goku in Xenoverse 1, had zero downsides. But in Xenoverse 2, the Super Saiyan forms give you less ki recovery, they give you less stamina recovery, they even make it so bad to the point where sometimes you can't even do a super attack ever again the moment you use up all of your ki in Super Saiyan 3, meaning you'd have to go back to base form if you wanted to get more ki, or just hope to God that you get an opportunity to charge up or gain an extra bar of ki so you can actually use your massive damage boost as a Super Saiyan 3. Who knows if that's the exact same way they'll do it in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3, because they actually do straight up state here that Xenoverse 2 went really vertical and deep. There were other things players wanted to do. Let's rethink what Xenoverse could be. I think that's a reference to them saying that basically Xenoverse 2's stat investment, or the way the balance went for things, is that it was just obscenely vertical. After a while, it became less about build diversity and more so how much can I put into a singular stat to get as much, ease of use as possible in any fight scenario. Some of you OG Xenoverse 2 players might remember having to diversify your builds and put enough stats into this and enough stats into that, and when you do this and that, then maybe your character would be good, but maybe I should have also have a Dragon Ball so I can rebalance it. Do I have too much ki and not enough stamina? Let me just check real quick. Now I don't have that much HP and I can easily die in one combo, one stamina break. I should probably change that. But now I don't do enough damage in this and that. Those are things you had to think about in early Xenoverse 2. But after we started getting higher level caps, and again, I'm not going to blame level 99 for this. Level 99 can be seen as somewhat kind of controversial, but I don't think it is. I think level 120 is when the controversy starts, because at the time of us being able to go past level 100, you basically don't need to put any points into ki. Ki as a stat, just ignore it completely. You only need 5 bars of ki, which you naturally got if you have a QQ Bang that doesn't lower your ki at all and you're level 80, you just naturally have 5 bars of ki. Now obviously if you're level 120 and you don't have a QQ Bang that lowers your stats at all, you have more than 5 bars of ki, meaning that ki, ignore it. Don't put any points in ki. Every point you had into ki, you can now put into stamina, because they increased the cap to 15, meaning you'll probably just put more points into stamina. And hey, you know what? We've actually also increased to a limit for all of these things. Usually, it would only go up to level 125, but now you can level all of these skills up to level 200. So people are redoing their characters and just boosting the life out of their basic attack, their stamina, their ki blast super, their strike super, their health. All of these stats get such crazy vertical investment that fighting anyone who has max stamina and max HP, it just genuinely feels like you're fighting an expert mission boss. And they probably have max basic attack too, because there's that many points to spare. Overall, I do think some transformations obviously get changed or rebalanced. I can only expect it for the big heavy hitting ones, like Blue Evolved, Ultra Instinct Beast, but I imagine everything else is going to remain permanent. Again, I'm not saying that that's the way it's going to happen, and reminder, Xenoverse 2 is mega successful, so I wouldn't be surprised if Xenoverse 3 doesn't even change that many aspects from Xenoverse 2, and just keeps the transformations permanent. But reminder again, Xenoverse 2 has been out for 10 years by the time Xenoverse 3 comes out. If they change the transformation system, you kind of can't blame them at that point. But yeah, I do think this is a pretty solid place to end the video, guys. Again, if you enjoyed the video, then obviously please leave a like on the video. Don't forget to subscribe, as it greatly supports the channel. And leave a comment down below as to anything that interests you when it comes to the topic of transformations. Obviously, we still need to see more because we don't even know what the unique transformations are going to look like for Margins or Namekians or Earthlings or Freezers or whatever. So without further ado, I think that's a good place to end it. Again, I do love you all. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Take care and peace. Bye-bye.